In the southern continent of Celts, the idle and peaceful port of Hamlet, an unearthly monster has broken the peace of these surroundings. According to legend, when the undead appeared in the world, they experience disaster and death. Citizens are scared and even hide every time the undead is invading their town. There are a lot of guards ready to defend their burrow and wanted to catch the undead to bring him to the city walls. Our story protagonist here is a cute, small, naive undead named Gray who tries to fit himself in a human world. At that moment, a purple cat spots Gray as he hides at the rear of the drum. When Gray turned back, the cat was yowling in terror, so Gray covered his mouth to prevent being caught. Gray is staring at the cat, and he recognizes it as a ghost that has possessed a cat. Don't be so surprised. There are many animals in this world that are possessed by ghosts. A skeleton frame like you strutting down the road is a real rarity. You're not out on the ground for the first time, are you? Said the cat, which causes Gray to be shocked by how the cat predicted it. The cat questioned why Gray was on the surface rather than remaining below ground in the abyss. Those who stay in the abyss must have a skill that will be valuable to them. Due to his vulnerability as a newborn undead, he allegedly feigned to be a skeleton specimen next to the powerful Lich Brutus in order to study magic. He never imagined that his plan would unintentionally work. For many years, the great sorcerer was unaware of his existence. However, one day, when a priceless magic item was going up for auction at the Abyss Gathering and the sorcerer wanted to attend, he came up with the idea to turn the specimen into a skeleton soldier to help him run errands. Gray didn't want to be a skeleton soldier, so he ran away and unintentionally knocked over the experimental equipment, making the Great Lich quite angry. While escaping, he stole a few treasures and fled to the ground out of fear after hearing the Great Lich threaten to teach him a lesson. After hearing it from Gray, the cat was frightened and lies that he needs to go and even tells Gray that they should pretend they never met because he was scared of the Great Lich. When he was about to leave, Gray pulled his tail, but the cat acted angrily because he don't want to be dragged. Gray wondered why he was targeted by a human when he did not interact with humans at all. You don't understand, you're an undead. Do you know what it means to be undead? The cat shouted. The undead is synonymous with calamity and death for humans, and according to the cat, people will hold the undead down as a source of disaster. Gray asked the cat why he's not been targeted by humans if he is also an undead creature. The cat explained that he possesses the perfect creature that combines good manners and elegance, so humans serve him well that even the girls use their chests to make pillows for him. According to him, he is the master of the human race. Gray feels sad as he doesn't understand what it means to be a perfect creature like the cat experienced. In the middle of their discussion, Gray saw someone coming from the gate. She's Iron Berbera, a lovely girl with white hair and blue eyes. Iron is a member of the royal family and she visited Port Hamlet. When she looks around, she thinks that this city is a bit strange because every house was closed. The guard of Port Hamlet apologizes and informed her that they are searching for the undead that has unfiltered the port. Iron was curious, but her guard interrupted her to say that they have some errands to do, so she decided to proceed with their destination. After seeing it, Gray wondered why those people were so respected, and the cat answered that they are knights, the embodiment of justice and light. The cat also explains that anytime a knight emerges, people will instinctively gather around them since they defend common people and offer peace and stability to people's lives. The cat advised him that he should go back to the underground because he has someplace there to hide, but Gray refused to do so, and he swore, "I, Gray the Lich, hereby swear that I will become a respectable knight." The cat was startled by what he heard, so he told Gray to repeat what he said, and Gray said the same thing. "You're a Lich who's afraid of humans, and you want to be a knight. Do not get me involved if you are sick in the head," the cat stated angrily. When sundown, Gray and the cat are still together. Gray showed the cat a suit of armor, but the cat warned him that it is impossible for him to become a knight, even if he steals the equipment from the armory. Gray displayed a book named The Knight's Guide to Success, and he believed that by using it, he might become a knight without much difficulty. The cat was annoyed at he suddenly bite the book and ordered Gray to put him down. The cat said that relying on books of this nature won't help one become a knight and will therefore be useless. As Gray questioned why, the cat yelled that a horse is necessary to be a knight. Gray understands everything, so he employed magic to summon an awakened one. Gray concentrated and called the horse Great Tanitos, despite the cat being oblivious to what he was trying to achieve. The skeleton horse has come to life and is making a lot of noise as he tries to comprehend things. The army is already coming, so they need to hide. Count Caspar, the Lord of Port Hamlet, was present at the same moment at his castle. Iron Berbera, the Duchess of Becher, is arriving. As soon as she entered the castle, his uncle Caspar greeted her and Iron did so in return. "My son is lucky to have a wife like you," Caspar stated, which makes Iron wonder what he means. Caspar invited Iron to mainly arrange a marriage with his son. Iron feels annoyed and she says it's impossible. Instead of talking about the marriage, Iron asked for some thoughts on how Caspar can help her inherit the title of the Becher family. Caspar doesn't want to help her, and he even includes Iron's brother in their conversation. Iron was mad because she believes his father never had a son. Enough, Iron. The king has declared him to be what he is, Caspar stated angrily, and he advised Iron that she should only keep her mother's property and give up her better name in order to marry his son, and that she shouldn't turn against it. According to Iron, Caspar swore to her father that he would continue to be devoted to her after her father passed away. And because of Caspar's attitude, she gets the handkerchief and throws it in front of Caspar to make a vow according to the age-old customs. In the city of Casfador, the guards are still searching for the undead, but Grey with the cat and horse is just hiding. The cat is annoyed and wanted Grey to let him go. "Aren't you going to help me become a knight?" Grey stated, since it is impossible for a Lich to be a knight. The cat furiously claimed that he never pledged to assist Grey in becoming a knight. Grey and the horse prepare a set of armor, and for Grey, it's not impossible for a Lich to become a knight because it's not mentioned in the book. The cat doesn't believe Grey and just wanted to possess another body, so Grey offered to turn him into an undead so he never feels tired after it. The cat was terrified and had no choice but to assist Grey in becoming a true knight. The guards had grown weary of searching for the undead and believed that the skeleton had already left town. While the guard was standing on the side, there was a knight and a horse walking through them. The cat, who is feeling uneasy, and instructs Grey to proceed straight ahead. The guard stops them only to let them know that the city is under a curfew due to the undead, so they should not roam around and hunt for a hotel to rest in, and the guards leave standing. Now that Grey and Tanitos have successfully disguised themselves in armor and utilized Grey's power to control it, Grey's next goal is to find a master who will turn him into a knight. The cat told him that they can't find a master because it was already dark and he should look during the day instead. Since this is Grey's first time as a knight, the cat told him that they'll go to the tavern where the knights were hanging out. In the middle of the night, Iron is thinking about what happened in the castle. The knight told him that she needs to rest as they have a duel tomorrow, but Iron keeps thinking and asked the knight Horus if her decision was too impulsive. Horus cannot figure out why Iron would agree to such a harsh condition, and Iron said that Caspar would only agree to such conditions. Horus was mad and informed Iron that they can escort her out of Port Hamlet. According to Iron, from the moment the king wanted to illegally seize the Becher family's territory, they had no choice but to ask Caspar's troops to support them. In addition, Horus stated that Caspar had ordered a turn-based conflict between their knights and Caspar's knights, and they only brought 20 knights, so there was no way they can win by fighting in numbers. Iron ordered to hire the people in a renowned mercenary group near Port Hamlet. They might succeed if they adopt effective strategies and leverage their advantages to attack their weaknesses. All you need to do is trust the Lord you have chosen, Iron said while she swore in the name of Becher. Going back to Grey and his two companions, they now arrive at the tavern. The cat told him to order a glass of wine and a fish because he was starving and needed to be fed. The attendant welcomed them after they had already entered. Some individuals were curious about him and wanted to include him in their gang, but their boss named Paz won't let them unless Grey can convince him of his value. Grey was thrilled for hearing the attendant calling him Mr. Knight. The cat asked if Grey have some money, but Grey answered that he only has one from the Great Lick's treasure house. The cat was disappointed after hearing it, so Grey suggests that they can get money in front of them by gambling. Grey really sat down at the table and has been winning a series of games in a row, so the cat advised him to lose a few games because people were gossiping about his consistently undefeated, and Grey wondered why. Suddenly, there's a man who challenges him to play a few games with him alone, and it should be 10 silver coins at a time. After hearing it, the cat told him to not accept the challenge to avoid big trouble with the people. Grey was hard-headed and did not listen to the cat because he was confident that he won't lose the game. After the gambling ends, Grey made a lot of money. In the world of liches and ghosts, the probability is foundational knowledge, so he thinks that those people were too mindless. The cat explained that in the human world, it's not good to win all the time, and the cat was right. When they're about to leave, those gamblers block them and they think that Grey is cheated, so they ordered Grey to leave all his earnings or he will be beaten by these men. "See, this is what happens when you cheat," the cat proclaimed. Grey is a different person now, and he believes Tanitos can help him with this fight. The cat doesn't trust Tanitos because he always feels like Tanitos will fall apart after 2 steps. "Don't worry, leave it to me and Tanitos," Grey stated. Some men were about to retreat because they noticed that Grey is a knight, but their boss ordered them to pull Grey onto his horse. There are several opponents in front of him holding different weapons. Grey and Tanitos prepared themselves to attack. With the help of Tanitos, he strongly kicks these men, causing them to spew blood. Tanitos jumped and hit the other men left one by one. They were thrilled to assault these people, and in the end, all of them were passed out. There is a crowd watching them, and they said that gamblers have met their match this time. Paz is also watching the fight and were puzzled by how Grey fights with the gamblers. The cat was astonished at this point because Grey is a skilled fighter and has covertly given Tanitos several layers of enhancing magic. The following day, word spread that the Lord of Casfador would be facing off against a well-known figure from another country. Paz informed him that there was a tournament and that someone had paid a lot of money to employ participants while Gray and Paz were both present. Paz thinks that with Gray's skills, he can win this kind of competition with ease. According to Paz, if a person is not a knight, they cannot compete in this type of tournament. Thus Iron gave them the temporary title of knight. Gray wondered why it had to be a short-term solution. He aspires to have the title of a true knight, the one with the seal. On that day, Caspar said to Iron that he was concerned about the reputation of the Becher family. Iron is talking to Caspar without calling him uncle, so Caspar said that she was rude, but Iron doesn't care as she only wants to win. And if it happens, she hopes that His Excellency the Count will also not go back on it. This tournament will consist of infantry and cavalry battles, and it will be fought in a turn-based format. Each side will send a knight to the battlefield, and the participant will be eliminated if he loses or surrenders. The winner must accept the challenge of the opposing knight. However, he will have the right to decide whether the next round will be a horse or foot battle. This will be repeated until all the knights on one side are eliminated and the winner is determined. If Count Caspar loses, he must swear allegiance to Lady Iron, and if Lady Iron loses, she must accept the engagement of the Count's son and be married at a later date. The battle is about to begin and the host welcomed the knights on each side. There is a lot of Count Caspar's guard knight while the attendant knights of Iron are only a few. People started to gossip and even bet that Iron will lose this battle. Caspar laughed after seeing the few knights of Iron, and for him, it was a sign of her stupidity. Iron hired mercenaries and they are all waiting outside the arena. The tournament begins and the fight is started. All these knights protect themselves with their shields while trying to use their lance against each opponent. In Game 1, Iron wins and Caspar loses 1. The Iron Knights maintained their lead in the second round and triumphed, handing Caspar yet another defeat. In the third round, Caspar wins and Iron loses 1. Since Iron's unit is currently outnumbered, she gave Horus the order to go gather the mercenaries. Horus asked if Iron intended to use the mercenaries to wear out Caspar's troops, and Iron replied that because their manpower is limited, they must be placed wisely to counter the Count's troops' superior strength. Outside the tournament, mercenaries have been called and Gray is also there. Horus told them that the match is of the utmost importance to House Becher, so they should help win the battle. Although they promised to try their best, mercenaries said they could not guarantee the outcome. Suddenly Gray is raising his hand and asks Horus to make him a knight. Hasn't the lady already granted you the title of a knight? Horus questioned. Gray insisted that he don't want a temporary title, he wanted to be a real knight with a seal. Horus was irritated because he believed Gray to be feeling ambitious. But Iron cut him off and told Gray that the title of the knight cannot be earned by merit and it cannot be awarded arbitrarily. Sir, if you can defeat 50 men for me in the tournament, I will give you the title of knight. Only if you can, Iron said. Gray and the cat were both surprised, and the cat even concludes that Iron is asking too much, so he told Gray to refuse, but unfortunately, Gray accepts the challenge. Well then, I'll be waiting to see you in action, Iron said and walk away with Horus. Gray was scolded by the cat for accepting Iron's offer, but Gray was overconfident that 50 people was a small number and that Tenitos could kick hundreds of them. To force Tenitos into the arena, Gray needs to defeat the knights in a foot war. Only the winner has the right to change the fighting method. Iron goes back to the tournament and Caspar didn't expect her to rely on the Red Scorpion mercenaries. No wonder the Becher family is on the decline, Caspar said, and Iron answered, you have to wait a little longer to find out if it's on the decline. Paz has been called to the ring and for him, it appears like the good days are over, so he needs to take the fight a little more seriously. Caspar was astounded to witness a skillful individual engaged in combat with his troop. Paz is engaging calmly with his sword, attacking Count's troop, and finally, he knocked down his opponent and the crowd was cheering and asks for another battle. Caspar wondered how Paz won 5 games in a row and his subordinate answered that Paz is the leader of the Red Scorpion mercenaries. Since Caspar started to be irate, he ordered his man to put his skilled troop to fight against Paz as a consequence of going against him. While the audience is cheering and predicting Paz's battles, Count is sending a new knight and all of the people were shocked because it's a giant troop in front of Paz. Iron and Horus were puzzled after seeing it. Buddy, let's have some fight, the giant stated with an evil look. Because of how big he is, Paz started to think to withdraw from the battle. Meanwhile, on Gray's side, he was trained by the cat on how to use the swords, but Gray can't even hold it, so the cat told him to give up. The battle of Paz versus Count's troops is about to begin. People gossip about the giant troop like a monster and even the crowd feels scared. It's the knight's duel between Count Caspar and Lady Iron's 12th match begin. The giant troop was very determined to hit Paz using his giant mace, and good thing that Paz was able to dodge it. He attacks using his sword, but his sword has been broken. The giant laughed at him and Paz started to rattle because he don't have any other weapon to use. The only thing he can do now is to dodge, but because of the strength of the giant troop, he was still hit and thrown to the corner with blood on his body. People were worried while Caspar is happy seeing Paz suffering in pain. "This is what happens when you go against me," Caspar stated. Paz still manages to get up even though he feels like his ribs have been fractured. The giant troop was still in front of him and was about to hit him once more, but he began to have a serious look and jumped through the giant holding his broken sword and hitting the giant in the eyes. The giant is screaming in agony and can't see anything, and at this moment, Paz seizes the chance and runs towards the giant to stab him. The giant was very mad, but he cannot do anything, and at this point, he was knocked out by Paz. Since Paz spitting blood, Iron decided to replace him. On the other hand, Gray is busy making a weapon since he can't use a sword. The cat reminded him to hurry before the tournament will end. The fight between Iron and Count Caspar went on until midnight. By now, Iron had suffered heavy losses, with 4 executed, 7 seriously wounded, and several surrendered, leaving only 6 able to fight. Although Count Caspar's side was not as strong as Iron's side, they relied on their numbers to suppress the other party, and still had a total of 61 people left. Paz is on the roof watching the battle and thinking how brave Iron's knight is, but their chance is too little at this moment since they only have 6 troops left. While he was thinking, Horace called him and was annoyed because half of Paz's mercenaries surrendered after half of the fight. "We're paid to fight for you. We never said we'd sell our lives," Paz answered. Horace can't do anything but calm himself and asked for Gray, but Paz doesn't know where he is and he just answered that Gray must feed his cat. At this time, Count Caspar's team wins again and there are only 5 people left on Lady Iron's side. Horace decided to fight against Count's troops, and when he was about to walk in the middle, he heard a sound behind him. When he turned around, he saw a gigantic gate carried by Gray. People were shocked and doesn't have any idea what was going on. Gray continued to carry the gigantic gate and asked how many people were left on Count Caspar's side. Count Caspar and Lady Iron were both perplexed, and Iron trusts Gray this time. "Hey uncle, what about Count Caspar's side?" Gray asked Horace, so heroes informed him that Caspar has over 50 knights left, so he can now go and fight. Gray was happy and now ready to go straight to the ring with his gigantic gate, and when he put the gate in front of the opponent, it seems like it has a big explosion and the opponent flew away. Gary climbed up to the top of the gigantic gate and stands straight while saying, "I'm ready. Let's start the match." The opponent remained speechless and immediately kneeled to surrender in front of Gray. For the next match, Count's troops still surrendered and were afraid that they might be beaten left, right, and center. Because of Gray, all of Count Caspar's troops don't want to fight against him. Count Caspar interrupted and said, "How dare you demolish the gate of the Count's palace and use it as a weapon? What a shame, I won't tolerate this ever." All the people also noticed that it was the gate of the Count's palace. Caspar is now trembling in anger, and his subordinate informed him that his knights would rather give up their titles than go to fight, so he suggests changing the mode of completion to cavalry fight. Caspar agreed to it as this is the only chance they have to win the tournament. Gray is very bored at this time because no one wants to fight with him. Caspar called him and said that he wants to see Gray's skills in cavalry. Gray was puzzled, and Caspar is interrupted by Iron, who points out that according to the tournament's regulations, the winner gets to choose how the following match will be played. Caspar warned her that if she refused to participate in the horse battle, his men would not fight and the competition would continue without them. Iron is now frightened as she couldn't do anything. "Brave knight, are you willing to accept the request for a horse battle?" Caspar asked, and Gray told him that he will accept the horse battle if Caspar will send out all of his knights at once to fight with him. After hearing from Gray, Iron was surprised. Caspar asked if Gray means that all of the rest of his men will fight together, and Gray confirmed it. If these guys stop coming out halfway through the fight, he won't have 50 people defeated. Horace shouted to warn him, but Caspar accepted the deal. At the moment, Horace doesn't trust Gray and wanted to stop the match. Iron called Gray by his name and said, "Are you making such a request with full confidence?" And Gray replied, "Exactly, I will bring your victory." Because of Gray's statement, Iron let him show Gray's bravery and trust him wholeheartedly. Gray jumped from the top of the gate, and Tenitos with the cat on the roof went towards Gray, and he successfully rides to Tenitos. Caspar immediately ordered to get all of his knights on the stage, and his subordinate followed his order and told all the knights to prepare for the battle. Several knights with their horses are coming and getting in their formation in front of Gray. As there is just one opponent on the opposing side, the Count's warriors are certain that they will win the tournament. They started to attack Gray, but Tenitos used his head to stop them. Gray pulled a sword, but the adversary is unaware that he doesn't have the skill to use it, so he attacked Gray with all of his strength, and Gray just parried the blow, which makes the opponent to be annoyed. Gray trusts Tenitos to take care of all these troops with just one hoof. At this moment, the horsemen are now pissed off, and Tenitos asked what they will do. "Since swords don't work, let's use the old method of lick," Gray stated, and use his magic, a colossal magic quadruple. Tenitos feels more strong because of Gray's magic. The troops are rushing towards them while Tenitos is running with unbelievable speed. Count's knight was executed one by one, and no one can stop Gray. They now thought that Gray is very skillful at riding horses, so their plan is to stab Tanitos, but because of magic, the sword can't hit Tanitos. While almost all of the opponents were knocked down, Gray, Tanitos, and the cat were happily fighting against them. The opponent was scared of Gray, and they thought that he was not a human but a monster. Caspar was surprised to see his troops all knocked out, and he even thought that Gray is cheating. Horace was glad to see Gray successfully win the battle, and Iron gives back to Gray his sword. Gray reminded her that he already defeated 50 people in the tournament as promised, so he should be granted the title of knight. Of course, I will fulfill my promise and grant you the title of a knight with a seal, Iron declared. In the spring of the 10,753 Holy Calendar, in the territory of the Kingdom of Isaac at the southern end of the continent Celts, a great knight was born who is going to change the whole world in the future. Some people left the scene in anger because of this. Some people are cheering for him, and Gray himself has no idea about it but was happy experiencing this kind of fulfillment. The next day, Gray is throwing away gold coins and gems in the castle, and many people give thanks for his kindness. The cat asked what is he doing, and Gray answers, distributing the treasure I found to the poor. Last night, Iron bestow upon Gray the title of the Knight of the Silver Moon. She hopes that Gray will walk alongside her in the future. I will fight for you to my death, Gray answered. Iron prepared a room for Gray, and the cat now believes that the Lich has actually become a knight. Upon realizing it, Gray was very happy and walked around the room because of his excitement. Afterward, he decided to read the book to learn something about being a knight. The cat was about to sleep, but Gray won't allow him as he still needs advice. Upon reading the book, it says that the knight always gives treasure to the poor, so Gray asked the cat where to find the treasure and who are the poor. The cat answered, compared to Count Caspar, everyone in Port Hamlet is poor. For the treasure, this castle is full of it, so feel free to find it yourself. After that, the cat fell asleep. That's why this day, Gray robbed Count Caspar's castle and give it all to the poor. On the other side, in the temporary office of Iron, Abby, Robert, and Horace entered her room to ask if she really going to trust Gray. You must have witnessed his bravery. And I need his strength, Iron answered. Robert insisted that Gray is not trusted since they did not know his past and didn't even bother to take off his helmet at the pledging ceremony. But still, Iron is very confident about Gray and told Robert to not talk about Gray in the future. In just a minute, one knight came to Iron's room and delivered the news that the Silver Moon Knight, which is Gray, has robbed Count Caspar's treasury and thrown it from the castle tower. After hearing the news, Iron, Horace, and Robert were shocked and disappointed by what Gray did. Iron never considered herself a competent lord. She was trained by her father and was told that if she fall easily, there was no way she can become the next Grand Duke of the Becher family. However, there was one quality that Iron hadn't noticed, and that is she's very good at putting on an act. While Iron is en route to Gray, Caspar was already in the castle tower, standing in front of Gray, reprimanding him for plundering the castle's treasure. Gray told Caspar that he was giving the wealth he found to the poor as every knight does, but Caspar was very mad because it was his own treasure, and he called Gray a despicable thief. Since Gray is a naive Lich, he wasn't aware that this treasure belongs to an owner, and he even told Caspar that he doesn't know since there is no written name on it. Iron and his knights heard Caspar scolding Gray, so Robert told her that they better stop Gray before the issue gets too big. In addition to putting on a show, Iron has another trait that is essential to being a lord. That is an incredibly keen insight into an opportune moment. Caspar ordered Gray to call his master, but Iron was already behind him and said, "What a surprise. Uncle Caspar has requested to see me." Iron believes that Caspar is avoiding her because he didn't want to fulfill his vow. Gray immediately greeted his master as well as Iron to him. Iron goes near Caspar and whispers that if he refuses to fulfill his vow, she has the right to deprive him of his title immediately. Caspar feels shocked and thought that Iron is the one who deliberately sent Gray to attack his treasure. But Iron told him that she didn't anything about it but is willing to compensate for the damage that Gray caused. After all, I am not like a certain person. I am very credible, Iron stated, which caused Caspar to be annoyed and threw the charter before leaving the tower. Gray asked Iron if he did something wrong, and Iron told him that he has done very well. Iron was grateful that Caspar had forgotten that she had no right to deprive him of his title before becoming Grand Duchess, and he was grateful for the pressure Gray put on Caspar at this point. She also educates Gray that robbing other people of their wealth is wrong, and that if it ever happens again, his pay will be withheld in retaliation. Since Iron got the charter, they don't need to stay in Port Hamlet, so she told Gray to pack up his things as they need to go to White City by tomorrow. The cat is speechless and thinks that only such an unreliable master accepts a lunatic knight as Gray, but he was happy to see Gray slowly achieve his dream. The following day, as Iron and Gray prepared to depart from Port Hamlet, regular soldiers appeared in front of them. When Gray questioned why there are so many knights present but they did not participate in the tournament, the cat responded that they were just normal soldiers and only knights were permitted to participate in the battle. The cat noticed that there is another group of thousands of people that Caspar got by contact, so he senses that horrible things are about to happen. When night comes, one soldier looks for Gray, and when Gray appears, the soldier informed him that Horus ordered him to visit Lady Iron's tent. Iron ordered Horus with all the troops to use the charter as an opportunity for them to force more lords to join their camp, and he needs Horus to spread the word as he is the only reliable person for Iron. Horus won't accept her order because he's afraid that only Gray is left on her side. If Gray has second thoughts about me, do you have the power to stop him? Iron stated, which makes Horus and Robert remain speechless. Gray arrives at Iron's tent, and when he entered, these two men were staring at him, so Gray immediately asked if what's wrong. Horus suddenly held his arm and said, I'm counting on you for the safety of Lady Gray. After saying that, Horus and Abby Robert left the camp, but Gray doesn't know precisely what heroes mean to say, so he decided to ask Iron, but he doesn't know what to say. Iron feels that Gray is nervous, but Gray told her that he was not nervous, he just doesn't know what to do. To put it simply, you just have to stand there and knock down anyone who tried to attack me, Iron said, and because of that Gray understand everything. Iron feels odd since Gray refused to take off his helmet and didn't know the Knight's Oath. She started to think that Gray is not a human. What are you talking about? Of course, I'm a knight born and raised in this country, Gray said while his eyes are flickering drastically. They are both talking in the tent about Gray's identity while the cat is listening to them, and he suddenly noticed someone from above. Iron informed Gray that she was not doubting. From the moment you pledged your allegiance to me, you have been my knight. I will pay for who you are and make sure you don't get abused for it all, Iron said, causing Gray to shed tears because of happiness, and he promised Iron that he will be loyal no matter what. After that, Iron said to Gray that he should be ready since it was almost time to welcome the guests. Gray was puzzled, and suddenly, someone entered into Iron's tent. The Ravens are a group of assassins based in the southern part of the Kingdom of Isaac. As long as they're willing to pay, they will execute anyone right from the royalty down to the old and weak. Among the Ravens, an assassin named Spectre is the most fearsome. Other assassins take money for their work, but Spectre is a monster assassinated for fun. Now, his target is the woman with white hair and blue eyes, which is Iron Berbera. Gray immediately throws the sword at Spectre because he remembered that Iron told him he needs to knock down anyone who tries to attack the young lady. After seeing it, Iron told Gray that swords are not supposed to be thrown. Gray covers Iron, and he believes that Spectre has an assassination intent comparable to the Great Lich. Spectre attacked Gray with fast speed, and he thought that he has been cut Gray into pieces. When he pulled his sword, he then saw that it has been broken. Gray teased him as he thought that Gray will be over. Gray slaps Spectre and throws at the corner. While they are fighting, Iron doesn't know what was going on. What she saw is Spectre was the one who broke his own sword in the first move and proudly swung the broken blade a dozen times, and also thought that Gray didn't notice it. She thinks that both of them have gone crazy. Since she doesn't understand what was going on with both Spectre and Gray, she just ordered Gray to throw Spectre outside the tent. Gray suddenly asked Iron if she already know that this assassin is coming. Iron answered that they usually come to her once every 3 days, and they might come many times now that Horus and others are not with her. Gray then realizes that it's more worse than the times he was being hunted in the underground. While Gray throws the assassin outside the tent, he told Iron that he didn't know the situation of Iron and only knew that Iron can make him a knight. Iron explained everything to Gray. She said it was all about money and power, or simply because many people wanted her to disappear from this world. It all began without any complications. 2 months ago, the Grand Duke of the Becher House passed away unexpectedly. After his death, the Grand Duke, in his will, specified that his only daughter Iron would inherit his title and property. But at that moment, an illegitimate son named Jones suddenly appeared. Although the Grand Duke has an illegitimate son, according to the law, an illegitimate son had no right to inheritance. The problem was that the illegitimate son was brought out by the king. The king had the right to grant the illegitimate son the legal right of succession. And because the illegitimate son was a boy, even with the will of the Grand Duke, he was entitled to the inheritance instead of Iron. This was an obvious conspiracy. The king wanted to take over the Becher family's territory in a bloodless manner. Some of the people feared the king's authority, and therefore did not dare to help even though they knew the truth. Others, seeing the benefits, tried to help the feudal lords to take advantage of the situation. In short, from the day she lost her father, there were many people who wanted the 16-year-old girl to disappear as soon as possible. So, assassination became a common affair for her. The next day, Lady Iron together with Gray returned to the capital of the Duchy of Becher, the White City. Someone ordered the guards to welcome Iron and open the gate. She's Shelley, a young lady with blonde hair and blue eyes, and was happy seeing Iron return safely. Shelley also heard that Iron met a very brave knight during her trip to Port Hamlet. When they entered the town, people gossip after seeing the legendary Silver Moon Knight, which is Gray. The cat asked Gray if he understand what Lady Iron told him, but Gray didn't understand any of it. The only thing he knows is he must defeat the king, or else he will lose the knighthood he earned. When Gray looked around, he was happy after seeing the people cheering for him. He started to like the place because it's very lively and he feels the feeling of being alive. Iron acknowledges what Gray said and agreed that a white city is a lively place, that's why she has to guard this place to keep it alive. Iron offers Gray that she will prepare new armor for Gray and Tanitos, so she asked Gray if he had any specific requirements for it. According to Iron, Gray is now considered an important member of the Becher family, so his attire should be dignified. Since Gray doesn't know much about it, she just told Iron that anything will do. Aside from that, Iron informed Gray of one more thing. Once they settled in, she will invite all the nobles of the city to a ball to let them know that she returned alive with her troops and horses. Therefore, Gray should attend the ball with Iron since Gray is her guardian knight. Iron told him to be prepared and Gray was puzzled because it was his first time. While they are discussing, Gray was not aware that there's someone spotted him from above and knew that he was a Lich. Her name is Catherine, an angel with white hair and blue eyes. In accordance with the Greystone Agreement, they signed with the Liches before it mutilates humans. They should observe the situation and refrain from taking action against it. When the night comes, Gray is observing with his new armor and he was very glad and thankful for Iron for being a superb lord. The cat reminded Gray about the ball, but Gray doesn't know anything about it, so the cat told him that it was a party where everyone got together and danced. And what is dancing? Gray questioned. The cat showed him a sample of dance and Gray followed his steps. He then concludes that it was like some kind of mystical ritual. While they are practicing, someone knocked on the door, so Gray immediately wears his armor and opens the door. The maid introduced herself to Gray and informed him that Lady Iron is waiting for him. The maid guides his way to the lady, and when they arrived, Gray was surprised by Iron's look, but because of the jewels, he imagines himself wearing it since it has a gorgeous fabric. Lady Iron asked Gray if he was ready and Gray confidently answered yes. Iron extended her hand to Gray and told him they'll go downstairs, but Gray was puzzled and wondered why Iron isn't leaving yet if she said that they need to go downstairs. The cat hit him in the head and informed him that Iron wanted him to help her go. Why do I need to hold her? Has she fractured her ankle? Gray asked the cat, but the cat told him to stop asking and just held Iron's hand. Gray immediately held Iron's hand, and when they both walking, Gray suddenly said, "My lady, your gown looks great today. Can I wear it?" Iron wasn't sure of what she heard, so she told Gray to repeat what he said, but Gray said the same thing. "But you're a man, right?" Iron asked, but Gray wasn't sure what man is. The cat scolded him for being ignorant that might reveal his identity and expose him to the people. After hearing it, Gray took back what he said and told Iron to forget about it. Iron realizes that since Gray doesn't want to take off his helmet, refuses to take off the armor, doesn't want to mention his past life, and likes pretty dresses, she then concludes that Gray might be a female named Grace, not Gray. Iron forgets about it and continues to face the crowd. People greeted them and were curious after seeing Gray with a cat sitting on his shoulder. As the 13th heir of the Becher family, Iron welcomed all the people who attended the ball and told them to enjoy themselves this evening. I look forward to our families remaining as close to each other as they have been in the past to maintain good relations. At the same time, also hope to use this opportunity today to resolve the previous disagreements among us in one stroke, Iron stated, and drink the wine in front of everyone. Shelley concludes that Iron is targeting her grandpa named Gregory. Gray noticed Gregory, and Iron told him that Lord Gregory is the third of Atwood. He is from a famous family with a long history of wealth and a great military force. He is also a prime candidate to win battles against the king. Iron also informed Gray that Gregory declined her request, but since Gregory is present at the ball, she believes that there's still a chance for her. She immediately walked towards Gregory and greeted her uncle, and Gregory did the same and invited her to have a dance. Gray was about to go with Iron, but Shelley interrupted him and said that he can't follow Iron on the dance floor. Shelley concludes that Gray wanted to dance, so she invites Gray to dance with her instead of waiting for Iron. Gray was puzzled once again after seeing Shelley extend her hand, and he thought that Shelley might also have a fractured ankle. The cat informed him that she has no fractured ankle, but for the sake of the great lord he asked Gray to keep his distance from Shelley. Gray followed what he said and moved away from Shelley, so Shelley wondered what he was doing. The cat shouted and told Gray that he was not talking about physical distance. Shelley suddenly cries because she feels that she was humiliated. Since the cat believed that this woman is an expert, he told Gray to stop her from acting up to avoid being in trouble. Gray has no idea what he should do, so the cat told him to tell Shelley that she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Gray doesn't want to lie because Iron is the most beautiful woman for him, but the cat forced him to do so. Gray followed the cat and kneeled in front of Shelley. Shelley was thrilled after hearing it from Gray, and she immediately invites Gray to dance with her. Gray said, "I'd be honored." Shelley was happy dancing with Gray, and her real plan is to see what Gray really looked like under his helmet. While they are dancing, Shelley complains because Gray doesn't know how to dance and always stepped Shelley's feet. Gray apologized to Shelley and informed her that this is his first time. It's okay. It's actually my first time too dancing with a man in armor and he is stepping on me like crazy, Shelley stated. Since both of them are not good at dancing, Shelley told him that Gray should lead since he's a man. Gray wondered again and doesn't know if he was really a man, but he just enjoyed dancing together with Shelley. Iron and Gregory are looking at them and Gregory wondered why Gray's still wearing armor at the ball. Iron informed him that it was Gray's habit, and she also opened up about her request previously and asked Gregory to reconsider it carefully. Gregory told her that he don't refute the talent she had shown as a lord in the past 2 months. You are very good, but that is not nearly enough, Gregory said. He also informed Iron that Gregory's motto is only to support those who are destined to win, and it's the reason why he survived for 1,000 years. Going back to Shelley and Gray, Shelley invited Gray to go outside the hall and join her for a walk. While they are outside, Shelley removes her sandals and said that she can't be able to go back to dance with a swollen foot. Gray apologized again and Shelley asked him to look for some medicine and apply it to her feet. Upon hearing it, the cat believes that Shelley is flirting and wants to make love with Gray to reproduce and completely trapped. Gray doesn't understand what the cat said, and what he only knew is he needs to help Shelley heal her foot, so he immediately kneeled in front of Shelley and implies holy healing. Shelley witnessed how Gray used magic to heal her foot. Suddenly, there's a young man named Matthew who saw Gray hold Shelley's foot, and he was mad at Gray for holding a lady's foot with his hand. He stated that all the knights from the Becher family are shameless, and he immediately challenges Gray to a duel. Gray accepts his challenge without any hesitation, but the cat was annoyed and reminded Gray that this man in front of them is the one Lady Iron trying to win over, and they'll have a political problem if Gray fights someone over. The cat thought that Shelley will testify, so he ordered Gray to explain everything to Matthew, but suddenly, Shelley expressed her feeling for being happy that there are 2 men going to fight for her. From above, Angel Catherine still followed Gray, and she believes that Gray is an undead that can use divine magic. Inside the ball, Iron heard noise from the outside, and her guard told her that the Silver Moon Knight have insulted Lady Shelley of the Gregory family. Iron thinks that it might be a coincidence this time, so she immediately goes outside. Matthew shouted to Gray to explain why he humiliated Lady Shelley. There are some people around them, but Gray can't answer anything since he doesn't understand what Matthew is talking about. Since Gray can't answer, Matthew just asked Shelley to explain what Gray did to her. Shelley informed him that the Silver Moon Knight only healed her injured foot, and she was impressed since it didn't leave any scratches. Matthew concludes that Shelley is trying to defend Gray, and he also stated that there is no medicine in the world that can heal a person instantly without leaving a scar. The people started to gossip that Gray deceived Lady Shelley, and Gray was still puzzled because of his ignorance. He doesn't have any idea of the most words that people used and started to be scared, but the cat forced him to explain himself or else he will lose his reputation and suffer a social death. When Iron came, Gray told her that everyone is talking about something that he don't understand. Miss Iron, you're just in time. The character of the Becher Knights is really unacceptable, Matthew stated. Iron asked them what was going on, and Matthew told them that he came to the courtyard and he saw Becher Knight hitting on Shelley. After hearing it, Gregory was mad, so Iron told him to take it easy and hear first what the people involved had to say. She asked Gray first, and Gray told her that he stepped on Shelley's foot at the ball and hurt her, so he helped Shelley heal a little. Iron next asked Shelley, and since Shelley had no idea how to explain it, she just told Gray to use it again one more time in front of everyone. Gray was puzzled, so Shelley told him that he must show again the one that instantly cured her. Gray tried to use his holy healing magic, but it won't work again, so he apologizes to Shelley since he can't use it a second time in a short period. His hand was immediately burned off after using divine magic and will take several days to recover. If his other hand will also be burned off, he won't be able to control the armor with puppetry. Because of what happened, Gregory told Iron that before she asked for his help, she needs to keep her men in check. Iron apologizes, but she still trusts Gray. She will look into this matter and find out who is actually slandering. Gregory was still mad and told her to stay out of Gregory's family matters. The next morning, there are people coming to White City, and according to Horace, it's Count Felder who has come to their aid with his army, now that the military of the 3 counts of the Duchy of Becher has gathered in the White City. Horace concludes that the situation is turning in their favor. Since Iron has just returned to White City and Felder Edward III has arrived on the second day, she thinks that it might be a bit too much of a coincidence. Horace and Iron welcomed Felder, and Iron noticed someone inside the wagon. Felder stated that it was his son, little Jimmy. He's not well, and the doctor says he can't get into the sun. That's why the wagon is covered by a black cloth. Felder also stated that if the Civil War really starts, it could be dangerous to leave him. Iron asked for Felder's approval to see Jimmy, and so Felder's knight informed Jimmy that Iron from Becher's family wanted to see him. Jimmy introduced himself and greeted Iron, and she told Felder that Jimmy is a cute child. After a while, Iron enters her base and discusses with Robert and Heroes about Count Felder helping them. Horace feels that there's something that has been reciting Iron since this morning, and Iron just stated that the timing of Felder's appearance is too much of a coincidence. Also, his son little Jimmy was very cute looking, but nothing like Felder since his hair is white. While Felder was in the Becher castle, someone suddenly came and asked for another chance to Felder. He's Matthew, and stated that he didn't expect that Iron would rather offend the Gregory family to protect the Silver Moon Knight. Please give me another chance. I'll make sure that Silver Moon Knight is out of the Becher's camp, he said. While Gray was in his room, the cat wondered what he was doing. I'm making a list of things I have to do as a knight, Gray stated. He remembers that at the ceremony of becoming a knight, Iron let him read some vows. According to him, liches and demons don't often swear, but they keep their vows, and because of that he wants to keep those promises. He'll gonna start with the easiest way, to assist anyone who needs help. He's planning to go to the town, and the cat suggested that he should not go to the town right now. Suddenly, someone threw tomatoes at his head, and this lady was annoyed with Gray for appearing in the street. The lady continued to throw him some tomatoes and told him to get out on the street. Gray now wondered why he get the feeling that people aren't very friendly to him, and it wasn't like this when he first came into town. The cat told him that it doesn't have anything to do with Gray personally. It was just that there were people spreading rumors in White City after the ball, and these people were just deceived by that rumors. The streets of White City are really lively, except for the weird looks people give to Gray. While they are roaming around the city, someone is calling at their back. He's asking for some help from Gray. Please help us, the knight in armor, the little boy stated while kneeling to Gray. After hearing it, Gray was happy and realized that it was time for him to shine. No problem, whatever your troubles are, I'll take care of them, Gray stated. The little boy told Gray that his sister was kidnapped by the gangsters, and they demanded this kid bring Gray in front of them. The cat warns him that it's a naked conspiracy, but Gray doesn't care since the kid asked for his help. He wanted to help rather than sit back and do nothing. Gangsters making fun of Gray coming to where they are. The kid told them that he already brought Gray to them, so they should let her sister go. The gangster suddenly throw her sister, and Tanitos jumped while Gray catch the girl. Are these kids just going to ambush me unarmed like this? Gray said, and the kid feels sad but suddenly shout to tell everyone that the knight of the Becher family has taken someone captive. The girl also shouted for help, and Gray started to panic because he doesn't have any idea what was going on. All the people started to come and humiliate Gray. He was forced to get off the horse, but Gray followed them because he believes that he did not do something wrong. The little girl was still acting to show everyone that she has been harassed by Gray. The boy who asked for Gray's help cornered him to look like a bad knight in front of the people, and they have a master who paid a lot of money. Suddenly, while he was escaping, he was held by Shelley's order to her guard, and he keeps asking who they are. It doesn't matter who I am. First tell me about the young master who will give you a lot of money, Shelley stated, which caused the boy to cry. Gray was also crying, and the people has a sign hung onto his neck stating that he was a bad knight. They tie Gray's hand, and they will take him to the castle to report the incident to Lady Iron. Suddenly, Shelley came and blocked the way. People started to gossip about Shelley, and they knew that she was the girl from the ball who was bullied by Gray. Shelley asked them what was going on, and this man told her that they were teaching Gray a lesson for bullying people from this town. Shelley explained that they misunderstood everything, that the Lord Silver Moon didn't bully her but helped her heal his feet. One man asked about the rumors from the ball circulated to this town, and he also added that Gray is bullying the little girl. Shelley asked for the presence of the girl who they said was bullied by Gray. A lady brings the girl in front of Shelley, and Shelley immediately walks toward her. At this moment, the kid is still acting up, and Shelley pulled its hood where they can witness that the kid is not a girl but a boy. People were shocked, and Shelley told them that they has been fooled by these kids. She ordered to bring the other kids, and the crowd noticed that one of these kids is the one who cried out for help. Shelley explained that these kids are just victims of rumors and staged the prank themselves. The crowd is now claiming that they blame the wrong person. Shelley ordered to untie Gray and reminded all the people that when the time Lady Iron gave Gray the title of Knight of the Silver Moon, she also gave him a baronetcy and a part of the fief. In other words, people insulted the honor of a baron without any reason. As a baron, Gray has the right to sanction them all. After hearing it, Gray told them that he will sanction everyone. People asked for forgiveness, but Gray stated that forgiveness is not something that the perpetrators can just talk about. They must pay for it. He changed the message written on the sign and told the people to take the sign and walk, then he will forgive them all. Shelley laughed at Gray, and the people were glad that Gray can still give forgiveness after what happened. On the other side, Felder and Matthew are observing them. This is what happens when you're given another chance, Felder questioned. Gray gives thanks to Shelley for helping him solve the misunderstanding with the people, and Shelley just intended to return the favor. Shelley informed him that the person who framed him is young Master Matthew from the inner camp of Becher, the one who was after him the night of the ball, and he should let Iron know about it. Shelley also stated that she's afraid of Matthew's purpose, which might be to alienate Gray and Iron, so Gray better investigate Matthew's background. The cat still senses that there is something fishy, so he told Gray to ask why Shelley is telling all this information. If Shelley gets too close to Gray, she might drag Gregory into the war, but since she thinks that Gray is funny, that's why he told everything to Gray. They were about to part ways, but Matthew suddenly pulled Shelley. Her guards can't do anything because Matthew threatens them that he will execute Lady Shelley once they will come closer. Matthew obviously did this in order to not get her involved in this war. He was abandoned by Lord Felder because he failed the mission given by Felder, and now he was mad at Shelley for helping Gray solve the hatred of the people. Even if he failed to sow discord, if he could just eliminate Gray, Felder would definitely be happy. He dares Gray that he will let Shelley go once Gray rips off an arm and a leg. Since Gray is not Shelley's subordinate, she thought that Gray can't do it for her. Matthew laughed evilly and Gray started to think. While he's looking straight at Shelley, he stated, "Fine. I agree to this condition," and ripped one of his arms in front of everyone. "I hope you will keep your word," Gray said. The guards were shocked and Matthew really believed what he saw. Gray then throws the empty armor at Matthew, causing him to be unbalanced. While Shelley examines the damaged armor, she comes to the conclusion that it is merely empty and that Gray invented the story that he pulled his arm back into the armor to make it appear more realistic. Matthew warned Shelley that the moment will come when she will be sobbing uncontrollably while holding her grandfather's corpse. Shelley is unaware that her grandfather was kidnapped, since Gregory's mansion is really well located and there are no people near the locality. They easily sneak in, and it means that they have plenty of time to talk to Gregory before people will find out. Gregory believes that these people are not here to eliminate him, and because of his confidence, the boss tried to throw a knife on his head and ordered him to write a letter to his fief right away and asked them to send troops to support the Becher family against the king. Support the Becher family. But you are not the men of iron, Gregory stated, and these people don't want to tell their true identities, so Gregory refused to write the letter. The man started to be annoyed and shouted to Gray that he don't have the option to refuse and that if he will not write a letter, everyone in the mansion will be executed. If they will execute Gregory, they won't get his letter or seal, and after his death, his son will inherit his title according to the will. It is a will that has been proved by the archbishop, and even the king cannot interfere with it. Gregory knew that Felder is the one who sent all of these men to kidnap him, and they were shocked at how Gregory knows about it. At Becher Castle Study Hall, Lady Iron and Felder are talking, and someone interrupts them to inform them that there's a messenger for Count Felder outside the castle, so Felder excuses himself to Lady Iron. Iron started to doubt, so she ordered Abbey Robert to send a message to Horace to follow Felder's messenger with a bunch of men. Felder's messenger sends information that Gregory inferred that it was he who ordered people to kidnap Gregory. Felder told his messenger to go back to his people as do as instructed. For him, as long as his goal will be done, there is no fear that Gregory will not comply. After that, Felder go back to Iron, and Iron asked what happened. "Nothing. It's just some trivial matter in the fiefdom. Nothing important," Felder answered. White City has been under martial law, and without Iron's order, it is forbidden to open the city gates at night, so she asked Felder how his messenger from his fief entered the White City. Because of what Iron stated, Felder has been puzzled. At the house of Gregory, Felder's men are still waiting for the messenger to send Felder's return. When they look out the window, they thought that it is the messenger who came, but they recognized her. Shelley is already outside Gregory's mansion. When she entered, she wondered why the hall is dark and there was not even candlelight. Together with Shelley, the cat accompanies her. Shelley is thinking that maids recruited from White City are unreliable, so they should be thrown up. While she was walking in the hall, she did not notice that there was someone behind her. The man suddenly pulls Shelley and covers her mouth with a cloth. They bring Shelley in front of Gregory and threaten him that they will murder Shelley if he will still refuses to write a letter. Gregory is mad and wanted to hit them, but he can't do anything because his hands are tied up. The man touched Shelley and teased Gregory that he can't do anything if he will touch Shelley in front of him. He removes the cloth covers on Shelley's mouth and ordered her to say a few words, but what Shelley did is mock the man while saying, "Your threats are too lame. I guess you haven't succeeded in threatening anyone several times so far." After hearing it from Shelley, the man was furious and hit Shelley with strength, causing her to spew blood and fall. He stands in front of Shelley while stating that he will try his cheap threats if it will work or not. Shelley dared him and the man laughed, but he was not aware that the cat is already at his back. The cat jumped towards him and leave a scratch on his face. The cat is carrying the amulet of Gray and shouted, "Gray, I'll leave it to you." There was sorcery happening and all of them wondered what was going on. A minute ago, Gray accompanied Shelley to Gregory's house, and they both knew that there was something wrong because it was too dark inside the mansion. Gray offered that they'll go inside and save Shelley's grandpa, but she refused since there are several rooms in that mansion, and if they can't determine the exact location of her grandpa, they'll be in a passive situation of being intimidated by the hostages. Shelley decided to go alone and asked Gray if he can find a way to follow her. Gray answered that his armor is conspicuous, so there was no way to follow Shelley quietly. The only way he thinks to follow Shelley afterward is to let the cat go with Shelley. The cat was annoyed because in his mind, even if he knew the location and ran out to Gray to report, it would be too late. Gray handed his necklace to the cat and stated that he needs to hang this around his neck for a while. It is the disposable amulet he stole from the Great Lich. He instructed the cat that if they will find the place he should slam it to the ground and shout for Gray's name and he can reach with the transmission. Going back inside Gregory's mansion, the man was shocked after seeing Gray appearing out of thin air in a flash. Shelley now believes that Gray has magic and might have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. In the end, all sins will be cleared and all souls will be ascended. There is no room for a single shadow in every corner where the sun shines. When Gray completely appears in front of them, he stated, "I am Gray, the Knight of the Silver Moon. I hereby sanction you in the name of the Holy Spirit." Angel Catherine is up above the mansion and senses that a messenger of the Holy Spirit usually goes through this route. The men knew that the guy in front of them is the Silver Moon Rider Knight who has been in the limelight. The boss was confident that Gray is alone, and even if he's skillful, he cannot win the fight. They were all about to take down Gray using their sword, but Gray used magic to block all attacks coming to him, and his armor is also a great help. He employed strong magic, causing them to fly away. The opponents are still assertive in fighting with Gray despite the pain they suffer. Gray is very confident that he will win against them, and when the opponent tried to attack him, Gray blocks using his armor, causing the man's hand to disjoint. Gray casts quadruple tongue binding technique and illuminating beam chain to tie all of the opponents, and in the end, they failed their mission ordered by Felder, and they are now fully bruised on their bodies. Gregory and Shelley are now safe, and Gregory is staring at Gray, thinking about how he suddenly appeared and employed the chains that emitted light. No matter how Gregory looked at it, he knew that it was definitely magic. The only human in this world who can freely use magic is the Holy Order's Paladin, so Gregory thought that Iron pulled a favor from the Holy Order, and because of that, he wants to re-examine the Becher family and Iron's abilities. After the fight, Gray asked Shelley what they should do with these people, and Shelley said she will take care of it. She talks to the boss and she knows a lot of every detail about him, like his address and his family's background. The man is begging not to hurt his family and stated that his business has nothing to do with them. Shelley is not that kind of person, but she informed the man that no matter who sent them and for what purpose they attacked the Gregory family, they have failed, so Shelley is offering them two choices. The first one is to identify who sent them to Gregory's mansion, and the second is they should pretend that they all die here. The man agreed and told Shelley to keep her word and don't strike out his family. The man paused and suddenly vomit blood, causing his people to wonder what happened to him. Shelley put a poison capsule hidden between his teeth and he might bite through it, causing him to die instantly. Gregory is soundless while looking at the window, so Shelley walks through him and asks what's wrong. They can see at the window that the Becher family arrived to pick them up, so Gregory was impressed by Iron's quick actions, and he concludes that Iron ordered her people to follow Felder's messenger. Going back to the Becher Castle study hall, Iron is still investigating Felder, but Felder won't say anything about how his messenger entered the White City without Iron's permission. According to Iron, she did not remember that she allowed Felder's messenger. The only thing she recalls is giving thanks to Felder for his guidance. Felder stated that Iron should know the difference between her and her father. According to him, supporting Iron is a huge risk, that's why she should be grateful to Felder. "I have learned a great lesson," Iron stated. After their conversation, Abby, Robert, and Iron is heading to another room. Robert told everything to Iron that after sending a letter of support to the Becher family, the old count involved himself in an accident so that the Gregory family would think that the Becher family is the one who actually did all those things. Iron calmed Robert and told him that striking Felder now would shake the other forces who joined them. Aside from that, Robert informed Iron that Gregory is fine with the help of Gray and he is now in the lounge. When Iron entered where Gregory is, she apologized for being late. Gregory immediately asked if Iron already discussed things with Felder, but according to Iron, Felder's explanation was to help her subdue the Gregory family, that's why she wasn't able to make a move at this time. She is also worried at the same time because he concludes that Felder might be the king's rat. They are still talking in the middle of the night, and Iron informed Gregory that Felder brought his only son Jimmy, and Jimmy has snow-white hair, which is uncommon since they are the only ones in the whole Isaac who have such bloodline in the Becher family. Gregory immediately surmises that Jimmy might be the bastard son that the king found. Iron couldn't understand as of now why Felder brought Jimmy to White City, and the only thing she can do is to wait and watch what unfolds. Felder walks late at night going to another room. When he entered, he immediately saw Jimmy and apologized to him. Jimmy told him that he don't need to be polite since he don't like to hear such things. "Tell me what happened that made you come to me for help," Jimmy stated. Felder informed him that the Silver Moon Knight has sabotaged their plans multiple times since the beginning of Port Hamlet. Felder also added that Gray is a strange guy and no one knows where he came from. Gray acts absurdly like a child most of the time, but is also very resilient, unmoved by gossip, and very strong with the courage to take on 100 men. Most importantly, his loyalty to Iron is a very troublesome character. You want to make that silver moon knight accidentally vanish. Fine, I'll help you, Jimmy stated and let out his wings together with many bats around the room. After hearing it, Felder was happy that Jimmy will help him this time. There's an angel who discovered that Jimmy is an underage vampire, and she asked for approval from the hired to dispose of Jimmy, but it was denied and she can only watch and do nothing. These angels are guiding White City over deviants, and since they discovered a lich and a vampire, Catherine stated that there might be a chance that there will be more and more deviants gathering in this city in the future. The following day, Irene, Gregory, and Felder are talking about how to set up the defensive line. Little Jimmy entered the room as they were talking, and Jimmy along with Felder act like a proud father and son in front of everyone. Jimmy made an excuse that he hadn't played with Felder since they came to White City, and as expected, Felder acts and said that he was busy right now so he can play with someone else. Since Jimmy has bad intentions for Gray, he stated that he wanted to play with the knight in the white armor, and he's pointing to Gray. Afterward, Jimmy brings a lamp and Gray is wondering why they are heading to the underground of the castle. Don't worry, we'll be there soon, Jimmy stated. When they arrived, Jimmy welcomed Gray and he thought that no one will bother them in this area. Suddenly, Shelly appeared and said, "It's the dungeon of White City. Why did you bring us here to play, little Jimmy?" Jimmy looks devastated after seeing Lady Shelly, and he said that he never invited Shelly to come with them. Since Shelly insisted to include her in their games, Jimmy can't do anything but let Shelly play with them. The game is called The Brave and the Dragon. Jimmy told a story that a long time ago, there was an evil dragon living in the dungeon. It kidnapped the princess with white hair who used to live in the White City, which led to the wrath of the people. Eventually, the brave guy emerged and killed the dragon. Jimmy cast the Eye of Illusion, causing Gray and Shelly to be out of their mind. Jimmy told them that the two of them are mortal enemies and instruct them that they will fight against each other for the princess as the brave and the wicked dragon. "I don't want to be the dragon, can I be the brave guy instead?" Gray stated, causing Jimmy to be shocked as he thought that he successfully made Gray be hypnotized. Jimmy's magic will work unless his opponent's magical skill is higher than his. Since he thought that Gray is a human, he's wondering why his magic failed with Gray. Jimmy's plan is to make Gray hypnotize, but it did work for the cat instead of Gray. The cat is now hysterically mad and wanted to attack Gray as his opponent. Jimmy is wondering what happened to the cat, and he comes to the conclusion that his magic doesn't fail, it was just a mishap. The cat keeps biting Gray's armor, and Gray is now puzzled about why the cat suddenly freaked out. "I'm the evil dragon," the cat stated. While Jimmy is wondering, he was scared as he feels something on his back. When he turned around, it was Shelly holding a brick and saying to Jimmy, "Oh, princess, please step back." Jimmy now believes that his hypnosis succeeded, and he remembered that when he babbled a story, he said there that the princess is white-haired, that's why Shelly is calling him princess. "Princess, please stand back. Your brave hero will destroy the abominable evil dragon for you," Shelly stated. The cat still acted hyper and wanted Gray to let him go. While Shelly is holding the brick, she smashes it into Gray and Gray is screaming in agony. When Gray passed out, Shelly invited Jimmy to go back to the castle together, but Jimmy was scared and ordered Shelly to not come near him. It is said that deep in the dungeons of White Castle, the screams of a certain teenager echoed all day long. On that day, Irene ordered the doctors to go to the treatment ward and told Gray to explain everything. After what happened, Shelly fall into a coma and even the cat has been unconscious, but Gray wasn't sure what's the reason because they only played a little game. Abby Robert told Irene that Shelly and the cat seem to have been afflicted with some kind of black magic, which requires a priest from the church for treatment. If Jimmy is the one who used black magic, Irene is wondering why Gray is not affected, so she comes to the conclusion that Gray is a devout believer and has the protection of the Holy Spirit. When the night comes, there's a bat that brings food for Jimmy, and this bat suddenly transformed into a little girl. She's Dora, Jimmy's subordinate. Dora called Jimmy Master Jones, and since Jimmy heard it, he knew from the very start that it was Dora behind him. Jimmy is still crying after what happened, and when Dora saw it, he was irritated and asks Jimmy who bullied him. He told Dora that there was a girl who threatened him with a brick and hugged him in front of the public. Because of it, Jimmy feels ashamed of himself and wanted to make revenge. Jimmy blamed Felder for what happened, and he was afraid that his good sister might suspect him. Dora offered him that she can execute anyone, including Irene, for no reason as long as she gets an order from Jimmy, but Jimmy hit her and reminded her that they can't take the initiative to execute people, and that was their agreement with those holy spirits. Jimmy was also aware that there might be an angel around the White City watching over them, and it would be a disaster if they will be caught. As long as they will not murder anyone, they won't be targeted by those angels. Jimmy already has a plan in his mind on how to get rid of Gray, and he ordered Dora to send a message to the king to send his shadow guard troops. Before he go to sleep, he swore that he will revive the great blood race and stated that he is the light of hope for the blood race. The next morning, when Jimmy woke up, the first thing he saw is the silver moon knight Gray. He was shocked upon seeing Gray in his room, and Gray informed him that Irene ordered him to play and take care of Jimmy. Irene also said that the game they played last time is too dangerous, so Gray decided to play a game of family. "Let's go out for a walk in the sun," Gray stated while he faced Jimmy to the light from the sun. Jimmy shouted and passed out. The road to the revival of the Great Blood Race is a long way to go. Gray called Jimmy a son and apologizes to Jimmy since he's not aware that Jimmy is afraid of the sun. Jimmy told Gray to close the curtain or else something will really happen. "But little Jimmy, as the son of a knight, you can't stay in your room like this," Gray stated. Instead of being happy, Jimmy was mad and told Gray to get out of his room, but Gray can't follow what Jimmy said since he was following Iron's order that he should play with Jimmy for the whole day. Gray still forced Jimmy to go out and take a walk outside, and since Jimmy won't listen to him, he beat Jimmy since that is what Iron instructed him. Jimmy was surprised after seeing the hole in the wall made by Gray with just the wind pressure of his fist. Jimmy doesn't have a choice but to ride to Tenitos and go outside the castle with Gray. While they are outside, those kids who set him up saw him and they thought that Gray will scold them, but Gray just informed them to not always wander down those alleys to avoid being in danger. These kids are all orphans adopted by the church. And after White City entered a state of readiness for war, the church's finances went into trouble, so they were gullible enough to set up Gray for a small profit. Instead of punishing them, Gray donated all his belongings to the church after he knew about everything. "We have great respect for you. You are a true knight," said the kids, causing Gray to be thrilled. They idolized Gray to the point that when they grow up, they wanted to be a great knight like Gray. "Do you really want to be knights?" Gray asked them, and they answered yes. Because of that, Gray told them that they don't need to wait until they grow up. Gray formed a knightly order and let the kids follow him. "Let's go to the church and get you commissioned as knights," Gray stated. Suddenly, one kid asked about the man wearing armor in front of Gray. Gray introduces Jimmy to them, and he told the kids that Jimmy is his adopted son. When they arrive at the church, he said to the priest that he wanted all these kids to be a knight and he needs the priest to be a witness. The priest concludes that Gray is playing with the children, so he told Gray that he can be a witness, but they need to wait a little while because there's someone praying inside the church. It's the first time Gray has seen someone other than him come to church during his whole time in White City. Gray with the kids is doing a pledging ceremony inside the church, and Gray told them that for now, they are all trainees and they'll start the training the next day. This is the path Gray chose for himself and will never regret becoming a knight. Suddenly, the woman in a hood goes near Gray and introduces herself. She's Angel Catherine, and Gray feels some strange vibe after he saw Catherine. Although there is a deliberate attempt to hide it, Gray can sense the girl's vibe in front of him and he knows that it is an angel. Gray started to overthink and wanted to escape, but Catherine told him that she won't do anything to Gray since Gray is not breaking the law or trying to harm people. After that, Gray needs to leave and the pastor gives thanks to him. Because of him, those kids who were always naughty started to read the Holy Book on their own initiative. "My admiration for you is second only to the Holy Spirit. A pious knight like you should be recognized by the Holy Spirit," the pastor stated, and asked for Gray's help to apply for the Holy Order's seal of the cross. He also added that Gray can continue providing financial assistance. After hearing it, Gray immediately leaves and plans to go to tavern after he will bring back Jimmy to the castle. Afterward, he goes to the tavern for gambling to earn money and give it to the pastor. After he earned a lot of money, he's planning to go back to the church, but there was an old man asking for money, and since Gray is generous, he gave money to the old man. Other people saw it, and they also asked for money to Gray until it's only 2 silver coins left. Many days have passed. Jimmy is getting weak inside his room because they do many things with Gray. He was dragged out into the sun to learn how to ride a horse. Gray also let him learn swordplay in the hot sun, and they study night novels, dance, and do housework. He also complains that Gray is obsessed with women's clothing. Since he can hold it any longer, he ordered Dora to tell the king to act outright. The day has come, and the king is ready to attack the White City together with his troops. On Iron's side, she's preparing for the battle against the king. Robert informed her that the warrior have assembled, so she immediately go at the Tower Castle. When she arrived, she started to vow in front of the warriors. In the middle of the ceremony, Horace heard some noise behind him, and it was the children in the army. Horace was mad and asked for the commander. The commander stated that the children were brought by the Silver Moon Knight and are said to be members of his order. "We are the members of the super invincible Silver Moon Knights," the children stated. In the office of Iron, she asked Gray about the kids, and Gray said that this kid has a lot of potentials. Iron told the children that she needs to talk to Gray first, so the children left the room. Iron scolded him and ordered him to send back the children to the church. Gray insisted that those kids are members of his orders. Iron educated him that war is a place where they might get hurt or lose their life, so it's better not to bring those kids to the battlefield. "As long as I am here, they won't get hurt," Gray stated, causing Iron to be mad and asked Gray if he really understand what war is. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Till next time.